Hey there, it's Jake Dempsey, CEO and co-founder of Project Broadcast. I wanted to take a few minutes and really give you some training on the new App Flows feature. I can't tell you how excited I am about the rollout of this new feature because it allows you to integrate some of your favorite tools that you're using outside of Project Broadcast and integrate them directly in Project Broadcast and create really robust automations to run your business. Now, you may already be using a tool like Zapier or Pabbly or Make to do these types of things, but if your primary use case for something like Zapier today is to integrate with something like Google Forms or Jot Forms to connect it to Project Broadcast, you might be able to actually get rid of those additional subscriptions and just use the App Flows feature in Project Broadcast. One, it creates a very integrated experience for you to leverage App Flows in addition to kind of working with the components that live inside the Project Broadcast ecosystem, but it also allows you to connect multiple tools together. Now, in this video, we're going to go over leveraging Google Forms with App Flows. And I'm going to show you somewhat of a simple example to start with. I'll show you a little bit about how App Flows works and kind of what the interface does. And then we're going to dig into a couple of the advanced things that you could do with App Flows in this Google Forms example. Now, in order for us to do an App Flow with Google Forms, well, first we got to create a Google Form. So I'm going to hop over to my browser and we're going to go to the Google Forms area. Now, none of this is obviously Project Broadcast related, but let's step through building a Google Form. I'm going to create an interest survey. And we're going to ask a series of questions like their first name. We'll require these fields as well. We're going to ask for last name. We need their phone number. I'm going to ask for their email. And my last question is going to be, what are you interested in? And we'll do health, fitness, or food. So we've got our survey built. Now, if you're familiar with Google Forms, you know that when someone fills out a Google form, you typically want that to go to a Google spreadsheet, a Google Sheet. So I'm going to go over to the responses area, and I'm going to connect it to a sheet. And I'm going to create a new sheet, and we'll call this test interest survey, just so I can find it later. So if I go over now, and it does this automatically, it opens up a Google Sheet. It has the data. Obviously, no one has filled out our form yet. That's why nothing is in here. But you're well aware that when someone fills out your Google form, a new row is going to be populated into this Google Sheet. Well, now let's pop into Project Broadcast and start integrating with this and watch what kind of cool stuff that we can do. So over in Project Broadcast, under the automation area, we're going to go to App Flows. We're going to create a new App Flow, and I'm going to call this Interest Survey. Now, once I create my App Flow, I've got the ability to set a description. A description is useful if you want to, write something out for yourself so that it reminds you what the actual automation does. Now, in this, test that we're doing, I don't really need to do that. So I'm going to click Start Design. I'm going to choose the blank template. Now, in the future, there may be additional templates here that you can select, but today we just have the blank one. Let's look at some of the components of the App Flow tool that you're going to need to understand when constructing an App Flow. The first is your list of connectors. Over on the left-hand side are all the various connectors that you can use in Project Broadcast. Now, some of them are specific to Project Broadcast, like campaigns, contacts, keywords, tags. There's a ton of utilities that you can leverage. And then there's all the different applications that you can integrate with. Now, because we're building a Google form and that Google form is adding entries to our Google Sheet, well, we want to integrate with Google Sheets. So I'm going to drag Google Sheets over to the area, the design area, and then we get a list of actions that we can perform or triggers we can listen to. In our example, we want to look for the new row trigger. I want this App Flow to be executed anytime a new row is added to my Google Sheet, because a new row is added anytime someone fills out my interest survey. I then need to connect my Google account. I'm going to disconnect the one that I've already got because I want to walk you through the connection process. So I'm going to click connect new account. I'm going to pick my Google account that I want to use. You may get this alert when connecting to Google. It's a small thing we're still working through in the Google connector. To get through this, click the advanced link and then go to Project Broadcast. And it's going to ask you a series of questions to connect your Google account to your AppFlow engine in Project Broadcast. And once you do that, you only have to do it one time. And then after that, every time you use a Google connector, it's going to give you access to the ones that you've previously connected. And in my case, that's the one that I'm using. And then need to select the spreadsheet. And there's our test interest survey spreadsheet that's been created for us. And then it's going to ask for the worksheet. The worksheet should already be pre-populated too from that sheet. So I'm going to select that. And now I've connected that Google Sheet into my AppFlow. Well, now when a new row gets added, well, what do you want to do? Well, if you're using that Google form on, say, social media or your website, you probably want to make sure you have a contact in Project Broadcast. So I'm going to go use the contact component, drag it to the design area. And I have two options. I can either find an existing contact or I can update create contact. Now, in this example, let's say you put your Google form on your website. It's very possible someone fills out your interest survey and they're not in your Project Broadcast. Well, that means you probably don't want to use find contact because find contact may not return a contact. So I would use the update create contact in this example. Now, once I select that I want to do the update create contact, I'm going to draw a line from the output of new row to the input of the step update create contact. This is telling the AppFlow engine that I want the output of this step to go to the input of this step. The first thing I need to do when using the update create contact is I got to tell it, well, how do you want me to look for the contact in Project Broadcast? Now, lucky for us, we can either use phone number, email, or contact ID. I'm going to put phone number in the field that I want it to find the contact. Now, if it finds an existing contact with this phone number, it's going to update it to whatever I want it to below. Or if the contact doesn't exist with this phone number, it's going to create a new contact for us. Well, what do I want the first name to be on this contact? Well, I'm going to use the plus. I'm going to pull in the first name column from my first spreadsheet. Last name is going to be the last name column. Email address is going to be the email. And now I can really do some cool things too. Like maybe I want to append a note saying filled out survey on, or maybe I want to say interest survey because this is specifically my interest survey. And I'm going to add a piece of dynamic content to here, which is the timestamp that's coming from my spreadsheet as well. And maybe I want to add some additional tags here, like interest survey. They filled out my interest survey, so I want to tag them interest survey. Not only do I want to tag them interest survey, I want to use the question that I put in my survey of what are you interested in, which was either health, fitness, or food. And I want to tag them with one of those words. So I'm going to add another tag, but I want it to be a dynamic tag. And I want its value to come from whatever's in the column. What are you interested in? So that means when someone fills out the form, they're going to get tagged interest survey and also get tagged either food, fitness, or health. I can also fill out any custom fields that I want on the contact based on data that I collect in the interest survey. But for me, that's all I need to do right now. Now, once someone fills out my form, maybe I want to send them a confirmation message for filling out that form. So I'm going to pull the chat bubble over and I want to send a message. Now, again, I need to draw the output of the update create contact to the input of the send message because that's the next kind of step in my AppFlow, the next task that I want to execute. Send message needs a contact. Who do you want me to send the message to? Now, luckily, the output of create update contact gives us a contact. So if I click plus here, I should be able to look for, these are the different steps that are occurring, and I can look for the update create contact step, and you'll notice there's the contact ID. And it said I can use a contact phone number or email or contact ID. I'm going to use the contact ID because that's the most unique thing in the data that I can use that'll prevent any type of collision or problems. And then I'm going to craft a message and just say, hey there. And I'm going to insert their first name. I'm going to say, thanks so much for filling out my survey. So our app flow right now, basically, not basically, what it does is anytime someone fills out your Google form, a new row gets added to your Google Sheet. The app flow engine listens for that. When that new row is created, it's going to find and update an existing contact or create the contact. And what it's updating is the first name, last name, email. It's adding a note to them, and it's adding some dynamic tags to them. And then it's sending them a message just saying, thank you for filling out my survey. So pretty straightforward and simple app flow. Now, once I'm done crafting the app flow, I'm going to click Start Flow. The flow changes a bit to let you know that it's running. You'll see little dots appear in the app flow, letting you know that it's currently running and that you can stop the flow if you need to. Now, to edit a flow, you have to stop it. But right now, we're going to go test this flow and see if it's behaving properly. So let's go over to our form. I'm going to the share area and grab the link. And I'm just going to open that in my browser as if someone opened it. And I'm going to fill this out. Jake, put in my phone number, add my email, and I'm interested in food. And I'm going to click Submit. I should see an entry added to my Google Sheet because that's just how Google Forms works. And it did. We see that. And if I go over to the app flow, I can click this little button down here called Logs if I want to do this in real time and watch what's happening in the app flow. Now, with Google Sheets in particular, it can take about 10 minutes for the App Engine to detect that a new row has been added to your Google Sheet. So I'm going to pause the video right now, and I'll come right back as soon as I see that the App Flow engine has detected that new row, and we can look to see what's actually occurred. Now that the App Flow engine's detected the new row in our Google Sheet, let's take a look to see what happened. So I've got the logs opened here, and you can see right here is where it detected a new row. And if I click on that, I can just see the raw data that's being sent to the task in the App Flow engine. And it's got my name, first name, last name, number, email address, and my interest. We can see that it went to the next section to find the contact. This is the selection criteria that it used. It appended some notes, tagged the contact, set the first name, last name, email. And it should have sent me a message. We should see in the send message step that, it's got a message that, hey there, Jake, thanks so much for filling out my survey. So now we can just go take a quick peek at the contact and make sure that that information got updated. So let's go to contacts. Here's my contact. It's updated my name, phone number, email address. We can see that it tagged me interest survey. It tagged me food as well, because that's what I selected in the interest survey, and added the note. Now, I really like using the append note feature when I'm using the App Flow engine, because it lets you create kind of a log of what's happening on the contact. So I know this person filled out my interest survey on this exact date time based on the App Flow. Let's pop back over to our App Flow. Oh, let's actually make sure that the chat message was sent, because it should have sent a chat message. And here we can see that the interest survey response was filled out. So if we go back to our App Flow, we can, again, just review what's happening here. Anytime someone fills out my Google form, it will trigger the new row entry in my App Flow engine. It will find the existing contact or create a new contact based on the data submitted in that form. And then it will send a confirmation message thanking them for filling out the survey. Now, this is a very simple example. And, for some people, that's all you need. This allows you to connect Google Forms into Project Broadcast and make sure that you can create those forms in Google Forms, and your Project Broadcast account act as kind of the CRM for holding the data, updating the contact, and even confirming with the contact that you have received their survey. Now let's just chat for a bit. I'm going to talk now a little bit about some advanced ideas just with our same example here of using Google Forms. I'm going to stop the flow because we have to stop the flow in order to modify it. And I want to show you just a couple of concepts that you can do in AppFlow that really can take this really to the next level. I'm going to take our send message and I'm going to disconnect it temporarily. Just kind of move it out of the way. I'm going to go look for the controls utility, and I'm going to bring it over to our design area. I'm going to use a feature of controls called a switch. And a switch lets me kind of make branches in my decisions based on some data point. Now, in this example, I'm going to draw that contact output to the input of the switch. And what I want to switch on is what they answered in the term of what are they interested in. So I'm going to create a branch for what are you interested in when that equals health. I'm going to create branch 2 to also be based off of the what are you interested in when that equals fitness. And I'm going to create one last branch for when the what are you interested in equals food. So I should have food, fitness, and health. Those were the three options. If you recall, if we go back to our Google form, those are the three options we're giving people when filling out our form. So I've got 3 branches here now. I can decide what to do next. Maybe I want to send a message, and I want the message to be a different message for each of the branches. Now, I'm not going to fill these out entirely, but I just want to show you kind of what this flow could look like. Now, I would obviously have to go into each of these send messages and make sure that the contact is set, and then make sure I could type the message that I want to send to that, to that person based on what they filled out. So maybe on the first one, what was the first one? The first one was health. Okay, so I'm going to come over here. This one, I'm going to change the message. And I'm going to say, thanks so much for filling out the survey. I'm curious. What specifically do you want to improve about your health? My goal here, right, is to create a conversation with the contact. So that's what I'm going to send to the first person. The second part in our switch, so health was the first one. Fitness is the second one. So let's go to the second message. And I'm going to say, I totally get it. I need to also get my fitness game to the next level. What are your goals this year for your fitness? Oh, ha. Thanks for filling out the survey. You'll notice I'm really particular when I fill out messages in Project Broadcast. I really want people to feel like I wrote the message specifically for them. And on the third example, that one was, I think, food, correct? Yeah, food. So now I'm going to go to the third one, and I'm going to say, OMG, I am such a foodie. What is your favorite meal? I cannot turn down a great steak. Haha. Can't wait to connect on helping you on your journey. Do you have time this week to chat? So 3 very different messages. So this flow detects a new row being added to the Google Sheet, finds or creates the contact and updates them. And then based on how they answered the interest question is going to respond with a different message for each type. Now, this is just another simple kind of expansion to that first one that we did, where we were just sending them one message of thanks for filling out the survey. But you could go even further here and say, you know what, I'm not going to send a message. Maybe you pull campaigns over and you've got 3 different campaigns based on how they answered the interest survey. And you could add people from branch 1 to one campaign, people from branch 2 to a different campaign, people from branch 3 to a different campaign. You could tag them specifically outside of just updating the contact or keyword. But this is another example of where I can create an app flow that reacts dynamically to how the person fills out the Google form. And again, in this case, we're just sending a message, but I think you get the idea that I can really use my imagination and build all kinds of different things in this app flow. I might even want to integrate another tool into this app flow. Like maybe I'm a big Trello user. Well, if someone fills out my interest survey, maybe I want to create a Trello card for myself to make sure to follow up with them. Or maybe I want to send a message also to myself letting me know that someone filled out my interest survey, not just update the contact to alert me that someone has filled out the interest survey. So you can really let your kind of imagination run wild in working on these app flows. Now, I can't start this app flow right now because we haven't finished, these send messages. So let's do that real quick. I need to add the contact here. So I know that the contact ID is from the update create step. And I've already got the message set. I'm going to go to this send message, and it also needs a contact ID that it's getting from the update create step. And now that I've got the app flows, completed, I can click start flow. Again, we will see those little dots start to appear to let us know the app flow is running. And we can see the stop flow button that also lets us know that it's running. We have our logs in the bottom. This is going to be used pretty frequently as you work on building your app flow so that when it breaks, you can try to figure out where it's breaking in your app flow. This is just, a couple examples of what you can do with Project Broadcast's new app flow feature. What I'm really excited about is what kind of cool things you guys come up with in terms of what you can integrate, not only, externally, meaning with third-party tools, but the fact that you can now interact with campaigns and chat and configurable forms. You can start to build almost new features in Project Broadcast that don't exist. So for example, even our chat, component lets you respond to incoming messages. Maybe you want to build your own kind of keyword concept where you react to incoming messages, and based on what they respond with, you may do something different. You may send them a response message or add them to a campaign. You can almost build your own keyword concept just with our chat receive message incoming trigger. So again, you've got all of these things that you can interact with inside of Project Broadcast, in addition to these third-party tools that you can integrate with, like Google Forms in this example. Again, I'm super excited about what you folks are going to go do with app flows and how it's going to automate and help your business. And for those that are already doing automation with tools like Zapier, my hope is this also helps you continue to kind of save money, and maybe you don't need some of those other third-party services because you can just build those integrations and automations directly in Project Broadcast. Again, I'm Jake. Hope this has been helpful. Excited to see what you go do with this new feature.